Hey, you guys. I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to join. So I'm going to give them a second. How are you guys doing this evening? While we do the live tonight, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in. And I will be happy to answer any questions I can answer. So yeah, I'll just give it like one more minute. I have my smoothie that I made earlier. How are you guys? All right. I got some notes. Then I want to make sure that I include everything tonight and hopefully can kind of point you guys in the right direction when it comes to casting calls. So let me go ahead and get started. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Amber. I go by Amber Rayne. I'm a producer, a creative director. I'm also a photographer as well as a model. I want to thank DC Now Events for allowing me to take over their Instagram Live tonight to kind of talk to you guys about, kind of what I do and how to find film and photography related opportunities. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is the Amber Rayne. That's RAYNE. Feel free to DM me, connect with me if you have any questions. You can also email me at theamberrayne@gmail.com. Just my Instagram name at Gmail. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So basically, I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about how to find casting calls, what to kind of be prepared for when you're submitting to a casting call, and what to expect if you're selected for a gig or a project or opportunity, kind of like what to expect on set. So first, generally speaking, there are some websites that you can go to find casting calls in your area and outside of your area. I'm going to give you guys kind of the top 5 most reputable casting websites that I'm aware of. But you can also just do a general Google search for, casting call sites and specifically casting call sites in your area. If you're not, if you're just getting started, you're not quite ready to travel super far for castings and stuff, you can definitely find opportunities in your area. The first website is backstage.com. So I've actually used this website working on short film productions, looking for legitimate actors, and basically it's kind of just like a platform for people in the film industry, but specifically talent, to kind of create a profile or online resume for projects they've already worked on, movie, TV, films, they've been in, commercials, things like that. It's a really good way to connect with directors and casting agents and stuff like that. A lot of times, with these websites, the people will reach out to you, and they may want you to do some sort of Zoom audition or something like that, specifically for acting roles. So, it's always good to kind of have some sort of monologue prepared or something like that in case they want to do a quick interview. But anyway, another one is castingnetworks.com, which is another website to kind of find different casting calls in, whatever area you're in. Actorsaccess.com is another one. And nycastings.com is specifically for castings in New York. New York is definitely a place where there's a lot of opportunities for film and just a lot. It's, obviously the fashion capital of the U.S. And there's a lot that goes on there in terms of the music industry. So New York isn't that far. If you're from the DMV area, it's a couple hours, away. So I definitely wouldn't rule out, opportunities in New York, because you can always drive up there, hop on the bus. And there's a lot of times like really good big opportunities out there. Another thing, so those are like websites that, you can kind of look to that are legit, to help, you find like legitimate castings. But you can also find castings for local projects by kind of like doing your own research. And what I mean by that is, when you're first starting out, it's good, I feel like, to network, with, people around you, people in your community who are trying to do things and, kind of lend your talents to each other to provide opportunities for each other. There are a lot of production companies in the area who get opportunities to work with major brands for commercials, for music videos, for documentaries, for things like that. So it's not a bad idea to kind of look within your own community and do some research to figure out who's doing projects in the area. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be working for free. And I'll kind of get to that about, when it's kind of worth it to, do projects for free versus, when you should be getting paid for something. But, there's a lot of good production companies out here who are getting good budgets from companies and just, independent parties who have the money to put together a good project, where, you can start to create a career for yourself working in production in your own area. So what I kind of recommend you do is, Instagram is a tool that you can use to connect with people. A lot of people use it as kind of like a very basic portfolio where you can just instantly go to somebody's page and kind of see what they're about once you go to their page. So, I definitely recommend using Instagram as a tool to find opportunities, but to also kind of create like a social portfolio for yourself, where people that you may network with on this app can kind of like go to your page and immediately see what you're about. But basically what you want to do is you'll want to find production companies, casting directors, wardrobe stylists sometimes, producers, people who are working in the film production world, to find opportunities. Obviously, if you find someone who's a casting agent or casting director in the area, you should be looking on their page for casting calls, check their story, check to see if they're looking for anything. But in general, sometimes on these projects, you may not have necessarily a casting director or whatever the case may be. So you'll want to, follow the producer, follow the director. Sometimes they'll directly post what kind of talent they're looking for. So, there's a bunch of different production companies, directors, videographers in the area. I recommend if you're trying to get into film production to follow these people, check out their work, and see if they potentially have any opportunities where they're looking to incorporate talent into their projects. For anybody that's new, that's just joining the live, my name is Amber. I go by Amber Rayne. I'm a producer and creative director, and I'm just talking about how to find casting calls and opportunities in your own area. So I also want to mention that there are agencies and kind of people who are regularly looking for talent in the area. There is a talent agency called United Casting Agency that is run by people from the DMV who are getting opportunities to do like high profile music videos and lots of other projects. So, just kind of like look for pages like that. Make sure they're professional. They're giving, straightforward information. You want to avoid like, anything that seems scammy or like really too good to be true. You want to look at all the details and ask a lot of questions when it comes to the casting if it seems extremely vague. So basically just look for people within your own like networking community who are involved in like film production to look for casting calls in your area. So moving on to the next topic, I'm going to kind of talk about how to prepare for a casting call, an audition, what to expect. Usually a professional casting call is going to include details like, if they're looking for a male or female, if they're looking for anything specific they're looking for. Sometimes they're looking for specific features, they're looking for a specific height, they're looking for a specific size. They should be kind of giving you an idea of what kind of project it is, if it's a movie, if it's a commercial, if it's a music video. It should give you some sort of inclination as to the nature of the project. So usually when you see a casting call, it might have some of those details, and it'll tell you, email for more information or email to submit. Once you get all the details on what's required of you, you want to make sure that you are reading all of the instructions that they're giving you, as well as following those instructions. If they're asking for, 2 to 3 photos and you only submit one, it's not necessarily likely you're going to get selected for that casting call, simply because you're not able to follow their instructions. And that's really important on set. You need people who are going to be paying attention, following instructions, because there's usually a lot going on. So if you're not able to do that in the casting process, then it's not likely that you're going to kind of go to the next level. Also, let me just check. I have a question. What are the general obstacles actors and actresses tend to go through? So I think a lot of the obstacles, so I'll say one of the obstacles I think is just finding projects that are aligned with what you ultimately want to do. A lot of times when you're just starting out, you may have an idea of like what direction you want to go in terms of acting or modeling, but you may not be getting those opportunities right away. I would say, don't necessarily give up. Give yourself the opportunity to explore like other avenues, because there's a lot of different types of modeling. There's a lot of different types of acting that you can be involved in. And, just keep an open mind to, what you want to do, and use the opportunities that you're getting to, sustain yourself financially, or, just kind of build up your resume. And also look at it as an opportunity to network. Even though you may not be doing something completely aligned with your ultimate goal, you may meet somebody on set or during that opportunity that can see your work and meet you and provide you with the opportunity in the future. I think another challenge that's faced is just, dealing with, rejection in the industry. A lot of times, there are a lot of people that are submitting to a particular casting or audition. There may only be one opportunity, and you may be continually applying to these castings and auditions and just not like getting these opportunities. And it can be really discouraging. Also too, I know there's been times where, I've scouted people, and people have scouted me because they think, that, I think you would be great for this opportunity. But ultimately, they might not be making the final decision on who is getting the role or getting the gig. So you may get this like sense of, okay, I'm definitely going to get this, I'm perfect for this, and then you don't get it. But the important thing is to not be discouraged, is to continue to apply and submit for every opportunity that you can, because eventually you're going to get that opportunity, you're going to get that break. If you become discouraged by the rejection, or, not going to the next level, then you're probably not going to get there, because this is an industry where you really have to be persistent, and you have to, just understand that it takes a lot of discipline and focus, and, you have to like just keep going, basically. So my whole thing is like, don't lose confidence, don't give up. And if you can create opportunities for yourself, find ways that you can, show off your talents and your acting skills, even if someone isn't providing the opportunity for you. When it comes to castings, typically you're going to be asked for a headshot. I will always say to keep an updated headshot ready. It doesn't have to be anything over the top, but something with a simple background where you look professional and, more so in your natural state, very light makeup, if makeup at all. And, just something that really showcases your features. If you're doing something that is going to involve more than just like focus on your face, acting gigs, things like that, especially things that require, like, certain height person or whatever the case may be, a lot of times I'll ask for a full body shot as well. So you'll want to have something that, shows off your physique in the best possible way, and that is up to date. Also, in terms of specifically modeling gigs, digitals are something that are used a lot for modeling purposes, which is basically just where in the past a lot of people used to use Polaroids. They're just called digitals now, where basically it's more so like natural light photos of you with no makeup on, very simple clothing that is just kind of showing your natural self, your natural physique, your natural face. So that, you are kind of presenting yourself as a blank slate to whatever, company or brand you are trying to work with, so they can figure out how to best use you to model whatever product or service they're selling. So that's always something that's good to have up to date. People also still utilize comp cards, which is basically everything in one. You'll have a headshot on there, probably a full body shot. It also will include your measurements, your height, your weight, things like that. A lot of people still use this for physical auditions and casting calls where you're going to meet the person and you want to have something to leave with them, as well as like a portfolio. It's not a bad idea to keep a physical portfolio. I know a lot of things now are digital because of the pandemic, so a lot of people are doing auditions through Zoom, which is something I think that, is great. It makes it easy for you to, kind of get a sense of the person without physically having to be in the presence of the person. But I do think eventually we'll go back to a point where there are going to be, obviously a lot more physical auditions and things like that. Because especially when it comes to acting gigs, people kind of want to feel your presence in person to see what kind of performance you're going to give. But, you can always keep a portfolio digitally, like on your iPad or things like that. So if you are going to a physical audition, you can just kind of present that as something where you don't have to worry about, carrying around an actual large physical portfolio. So I would say always make sure that you have your headshot ready, multiple professional photos if you can, or just very like simple photos that show off, like I said, like your features, your physique. Always have your sizes and measurements ready and up to date. So that's usually going to include like all of your clothing sizes, both in either small, medium, large, or numerical, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever the case may be. Your accurate height, as well as like usually hips, bust, waist measurement, dress size, suit size, things like that. You just want to make sure that you always have that information handy and up to date. And then ultimately, I would say when it comes to, the casting and making sure that you're submitting everything correctly, just fully read the casting. Because if you're not following the instructions, if you don't have all the information ready to submit, wait until you get that information and you can submit to the casting properly, because, it's being professional is going to make a good impression. Being able to follow instructions in the early, part of the process is going to make an impression. And, those are things that are extremely important when you're on set and being considered for gigs in the future, while you're networking with the people that are giving you these opportunities. So yeah, that's pretty much what you want to be prepared for when it comes to auditions. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. Again, anybody that's new that's joining, my name's Amber Rayne. I'm a producer and creative director, and I'm just kind of talking about how to find casting calls, what to be prepared for, what to expect. So the last thing I'll kind of get into is what to expect on set once you've been selected for a gig. So you've, either, been scouted or you submitted for a gig and, these people want you to be a part of their project. So one of the main things you want to do is make sure you're getting all the details for the project as soon as possible. Date, time. You'll also want to make sure that you're prepared, what to bring in terms of any type of clothing. You should be asking, if there's any specific look they're going for. You pretty much just need to know what's going to be expected of you once you get on set. So if they haven't provided those details to you, make sure you reach out and ask those questions. I will also say to basically, you want to make sure that you have all the logistics. Like, you don't want to involve yourself in anything scammy or shady. Make sure that you have a direct contact, for the person. Look them up, see if they have, any, legit connections. Make sure their work is legit, just know what you're getting into, because there are a lot of people that try to take advantage of people through castings and auditions. But outside of that, be prepared for things to change. Once you get the details of your casting, the date, the time, be prepared that can change and that it can change at the last minute. There are a lot of factors that go into film production. Weather can be a factor. The main talent being available can be a main factor. Sound, having all the right equipment. So things are subject to change at any time. It's important that you try to be as flexible as possible and remain as professional as possible. People are going to remember someone who's easy to work with, who's professional, who's not complaining. So just keep in mind that the easier you are to work with, the better opportunity you have to, come back and be a part of other opportunities and gigs. But just be prepared that things can always change. I would always say, if you accept a gig, be prepared to just kind of clear your schedule for that day. Especially, I would say, for a music video, commercial, or anything where there's especially major talent involved. A lot of times their schedule can change, which can affect the entire schedule of the project. And, it's going to be difficult for them to switch up things if you are all of a sudden unavailable because things have been pushed back an hour or need to start an hour early. I definitely recommend that you kind of clear your schedule when you're doing these type of gigs, so that way you're not causing any scheduling conflicts with yourself or with the actual production. Let me see. I got another question. How much money does it take to produce your own projects generally? Okay, so that depends on the nature of the project and what you're trying to do. For film projects, the budget can be anywhere from a couple $1,000s to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It really depends on what is required to put that project together. I worked on music videos that cost $3,000. I've done small 1-minute music video promo commercials for $1,500. I worked on projects where the budget is $100,000. It depends on what you're actually trying to do. A lot of things that factor into, I will say, cost is your crew, your DP or videographer, your director, if you have a producer, the talent that you're incorporating, but also things like your equipment, if you need to rent camera equipment, if you need, I'll say location, props, editing and special effects. I mean, it really just depends on what you're trying to do. I would say when you're trying to figure out what your budget is to produce a project, you need to think about everything that you could possibly need and every person that you need and what you're going to pay them, or, if they're getting paid and who's involved. And if everything there is going to produce, the quality that you want. And if not, what is it going to take to get that? And when you're doing your own projects, you don't necessarily have to come out of your own pocket. There are grants. There's a lot of grants available in DC for like art related projects. You just have to do some research. There's also a lot of people who are willing to invest in a good project or something that they feel like they can get a return on, if it's pitched to a major network or something like that. So you just have to know where to look for, funding and money to get your project done. But it really depends. Something that's small might be, $1,000 or less. But if you need, special effects and, it's going to be a 30-minute, hour-long feature film or something like that, then, your budget's definitely going to grow. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for that question. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. But also, let me just jump back into kind of what to expect like on set. So a lot of times when you're on set, there's a lot of downtime. You're going to possibly be waiting for whatever your role is going to be. The important thing is while you're on set, you're paying attention to what's being asked of you, what's being instructed of you, and you kind of know what's going on. You want to make sure that you're very much aware of everything. And, while you have downtime, anything that you can do to prepare yourself, if you have like small lines, even things as simple as just making sure that like you're properly hydrated, you've eaten, and things like that, so you can perform whatever it is that you need to do, are just things, that are important that you should consider doing while you're on set, just mentally preparing for what's being asked of you. Things are always going to change. Things could get cut short at the last minute. Things can go longer than expected. Again, that's why I say don't, try not to plan things around whatever gig you have that day, so that way you're not running into any issues. But just, my main thing is just be flexible, be kind to other people while you're on set, be professional, make sure that you're prepared and that you're just kind of like putting your best foot forward. That's basically how you get, invited to do other projects. You make a good impression on people and you're able to network while you're doing these projects. Basically, just to kind of give a little more insight to myself, I started off being talent in front of the camera, doing music videos, modelings, things like that. And I, just kind of went with the flow. I was very professional. I was really easygoing and trying to be easy to work with. And the people that I work with invited me to be a part of another project. And the first project I was a part of, I wasn't paid. I didn't have anything going on that day. So I decided this was a good opportunity. These people seem legit. I checked them out. And someone, had asked me about the opportunity who I knew and, was working in film. So I ended up doing really good on that project. They invited me back. And once they got to know me and talked to me and kind of talked about the other things that I did, they started asking me to help with casting and finding other models. So I basically used my network to kind of work with them on the behind the camera side. And it eventually led to, me helping with casting, wardrobe, and art direction. So basically, when the pandemic happened, my current job that I was working at closed, and I basically was given the opportunity to start working as a producer, which kind of incorporates all of the things, all the skills that I have, and was able to be guided by the people that I was working with, and consistently get projects that I'm able to learn every single time and kind of, reflect on everything to figure out what I can do better. But basically, it just started from trying to get these opportunities in front of the camera and figuring out that I can use a lot of my skills behind the camera as well, to create, really dope visuals. And just to kind of clarify, a lot of people don't know. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate all the kind words and compliments. Victoria, I see you. I really appreciate you tuning in. But basically, as a producer, I oversee the entirety of these projects from the logistical side down to, sometimes making sure the vision is coming through. So I handle the budget. I find resources, whether that be funding, talent, the people on the team that we need to make this happen. I also assist a lot with castings. We don't always have a casting director, but I have a network of people that I know are talented, so I a lot of times curate and find talent and submit them to the team, to the client, and they're the ones that's selecting the talent. So, just so you guys kind of clarify, just to clarify with you guys, the producer or casting director, sometimes the people that are scouting, that are looking for talent, that are putting out the casting calls aren't necessarily the ones who are making the final selection on who's actually getting the gig and the talent. But basically now as a producer, that is one of the things that I do. And, I really enjoy working in film, and I really enjoy providing opportunities for other people. So I hope that, this information has really been useful to some of you guys who are trying to get into this. I do have one more question. Okay. 2 more questions here that I'll answer before I kind of roll out of the live. Who should you network with the most on set? Who should you network with the most on set? I can't really say there's any particular person, but I will say generally the most important people on set are going to be the director, the producer. If there's an on-set executive producer who is, helping making the project actually happen, as well as being actively involved in it. If there's a casting director, absolutely you want to network with the casting director. And who else I would say? I mean, everyone you should kind of introduce yourself to, because you could get opportunities through the wardrobe stylist, through the makeup artist. I think all those people, can provide opportunities depending on how involved they are in the industry and how serious they are in their craft. But definitely, if you have time to, talk to the director, talk to the producer, those are definitely really important people that if you make a good impression on, they may be able to incorporate you into a project moving into the future. Let me see what the other question was. Do you have expertise on the technical side, editing, computer graphics, mechanical, etc.? So I would say, okay, so generally my technical skill set comes into play more so when it comes to photography for myself. I'm not knowledgeable on film editing, video editing, graphics, stuff like that. A lot of times the directors and videographers that I work with, they typically handle the editing, or editing is outsourced to somebody who, has a specific level of expertise or technique in adding graphics, adding colorings, and things like that. But me personally, no, I don't have expertise on the technical side of film. My expertise lies in the logistical side when it comes to I'm managing the budget, I'm handling the numbers, I'm handling the communication as far as liaising and emailing information to people, dealing with the talent, creating a schedule. A lot of times I'll create call sheets for the team so everyone knows what they're doing. I'm arranging lunch. I'm helping make sure that things look good aesthetically, that our location is secure, things like that. So all of the aspects that are put into, what is happening on set and making sure that everything ultimately runs as smoothly as possible is basically what my job is. And, wherever we're lacking something, if we're on a tight budget, we don't have this person, whatever I can do to fill in is what I do. I've taken furniture, curtains, lamps out of my house for set design. I've, wardrobe styled at the last minute and provided accessories or whatever is needed to elevate the look of what we're doing. All of those things, anything that needs to be done, I will step in and make sure it needs to be done, even down to running errands, grabbing, like, whatever needs to be done. If we're lacking, I'm taking care of it. So, as a producer, that's your job. You oversee and make sure that the end result is what it needs to be. Let me see if I have any other questions. So yeah, I think that kind of like pretty much wraps up, everything that I have to share kind of on this live. I do want to give another big shout out to DC Now Events for putting on this kind of thing and, giving opportunity for people like myself to kind of share what I know. I'm still learning a lot. I haven't been in film production long. It's probably going on 1.5 years now. But I've always been into creative projects. I've always enjoyed things that are visually pleasing, and I'm really big on aesthetics. So this is something that I really enjoy, that I can incorporate all of my skills into to help create like some really dope things. I do want to just let you guys know about my latest projects, Almost to Awesome, the documentary about the history of hip hop and rap in the DMV. It's something that's really special and really important, and I think that it's going to be something that is going to be recognized and appreciated on a much larger platform and level. And I appreciate all the support that's been getting. Also, a short film I recently helped produce called Snap is a part of Series Fest. It's going to be a virtual festival screening on June 24th. Tickets should be on sale this week if you go to seriesfest.com. Also, shout out to my friend Steven Tana for this shirt from his clothing line, Vice Clothing. He has really dope stuff. That's my HU fam. So shout out to him. I love him. I appreciate all his support. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, feel free to connect with me via email, via DM. Email, definitely. I'll be able to respond because it's easy for me to like see all of my business related emails. DMs, if I don't get to you right away, I apologize. I usually have a lot of like crazy stuff going on in my DMs and spam sometimes from IG, so apologies if I don't get through right away through DM, but feel free to email me. If you guys have any other questions or anything else I can help with, please let me know, and just check out my last couple posts. I'm gonna go ahead and comment my Instagram and email address for you guys. And also, you guys will be able to revisit this live on the DC Now events page. If you want to go back and kind of check out any of the tips and advice that hopefully I was able to provide to you guys during this live session. Okay. All right. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes if you want to check out the email, my IG. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. Shout out to Neil. Shout out to DC Now Events. And I'll see you guys later.